The man who lived above the world. What if the world around you was simply too small? What if every doorway was a little too short? Every car was a little too cramped? Every pair of shoes was impossible to find? And everywhere you went, people stopped and stared because your height was unlike anything they had ever seen before? For Sultan Kösen, this is not a movie. This is his life. Sultan Kösen became famous around the world for something almost impossible to imagine. He grew taller than nearly every person alive. His height made him a record holder. But his story is about far more than being tall. It is about growing up different. It is about facing challenges that most people will never experience. And it is about learning how to live in a world designed for someone else. Sultan's story began in a quiet rural community in Turkey. He was born into a farming family and spent his early years surrounded by the simple routines of village life. Like many children, he spent time with his family and helped with daily work. At the beginning, there was nothing about Sultan that made people believe he would one day become famous across the entire world. He was simply a young boy growing up with his family. But as the years passed, something unusual began to happen. Sultan started growing at a remarkable speed. At first, the difference may not have seemed dramatic. Then he became taller than the other children at school. After that, he became taller than many of the adults around him. And eventually, his height became so extraordinary that it was impossible to ignore. Imagine being a child and watching the world around you become smaller every year. The desks at school become uncomfortable. The chairs feel too small. The clothes that fit you today may not fit you for long. Even the people you once looked directly in the eye slowly become shorter compared to you. Sultan's rapid growth was not simply a matter of being tall. Doctors discovered that a medical condition was affecting his body. His body was producing excessive amounts of growth hormone. This condition can cause the bones and tissues to continue growing far beyond normal levels. For Sultan, the effects were dramatic. His extraordinary height changed almost every part of his daily life. Most people never think about the size of a doorway. Sultan had to. Most people can walk into a clothing store and find something that fits. Sultan could not always do that. Most people can sit inside an ordinary car without thinking twice. For Sultan, finding a vehicle with enough space was a completely different experience. Even something as simple as finding a comfortable bed could become a serious problem. The world is designed around average measurements. Do yours have standard heights? Cars have limited space. Furniture is built for ordinary body sizes. Clothing companies produce standard sizes. But Sultan was far outside the standard. He had to adapt to a world that had never been designed for someone like him. And that meant many everyday activities required extra effort. But Sultan did not allow these difficulties to define his entire life. He continued helping his family. He continued moving forward. And eventually, his extraordinary height attracted worldwide attention. When official measurements were taken, the results confirmed what many people already suspected. Sultan Kösen was not simply a very tall man. He was the tallest living man in the world. That recognition changed his life forever. Suddenly, people from all over the world wanted to meet him. His story appeared in international media. He became connected with Guinness World Records. And millions of people became fascinated by the man who seemed to tower above everyone around him. But Sultan's size was not limited to his height. His hands were also extraordinary. When he stood beside an average-sized person, the difference could look almost unreal. His fingers were so long that a handshake with him could feel completely different from an ordinary handshake. His feet were also exceptionally large. Finding shoes was not as simple as visiting a shopping mall and choosing a pair from a shelf. Special footwear was often necessary. For most people, shoes are just something they buy. For Sultan, finding the right shoes could become a major project. This is one of the things people often forget when they see a world record. They see the number. They see the title. They see the photographs. But they may not think about the everyday reality behind the record. A record can look impressive from the outside. Living with it can be much more complicated. Sultan's incredible height was connected to a serious medical condition. For years, doctors worked to understand his condition and help control its effects. Medical treatment eventually helped reduce the excessive production of growth hormone. This was extremely important, because without treatment, his body might have continued growing. The treatment helped bring his growth under control and prevented the situation from becoming even more extreme. But becoming the tallest man in the world did not make life suddenly easy. In fact, it brought new challenges. Everywhere Sultan traveled, people noticed him. Some people were amazed. Some were curious. Some simply could not believe what they were seeing. Imagine walking through a public place and knowing that almost everyone around you is looking at you. For most people, that would be difficult. But Sultan learned to deal with the attention. Over time, his personality became just as memorable as his height. People who have met him often describe him as friendly, cheerful, and good-natured. He has a sense of humor about his unusual situation. And that positive attitude has helped him face challenges that would be difficult for almost anyone. Sultan's life also shows how quickly a person can become known around the world. He began life in a quiet village. He grew up helping his family. Then his extraordinary height turned him into a global celebrity. People who had never heard of his hometown suddenly knew his name. Visitors wanted photographs with him. Media organizations wanted to tell his story. And he became one of the most recognizable record holders in the world. But the story did not end when Sultan received his record. Because whenever someone holds an extraordinary record, there is always a question: will someone eventually break it? The world is full of unusual possibility. New people are born every day. Medical conditions can create rare changes in the human body, and somewhere another extraordinary person could one day attract the attention of doctors and record organizations. So people continued to wonder, could someone ever become taller than Sultan Kösen? For years, he remained at the top. As time passed, his status continued to attract attention. New measurements and medical evaluations helped confirm whether he still held his position. And the result remained the same: Sultan Kösen continued to be recognized as the tallest living man. But perhaps the most fascinating part of his story is not the record itself. It is the daily life behind the record. Imagine trying to enter a normal building. Imagine finding a chair strong and large enough to be comfortable. Imagine traveling in an ordinary vehicle. Imagine trying to buy clothes in a world where almost everything is made for people much smaller than you. For Sultan, these are not imaginary problems. They are real challenges, and yet, he continues to live his life. He continues to travel. He continues to meet people. He continues to smile for photographs. And he continues to inspire people who see his story as proof that life can take a person in completely unexpected directions. Sultan's journey also raises a fascinating question about what it means to be different. When you are different from everyone around you, it can sometimes feel like a disadvantage. You may feel like you do not fit into the world. But Sultan's story shows another possibility. The thing that makes you different can also become the thing that makes your story unforgettable. His sight brought challenges, but it also gave him a unique place in history. He became proof of just how extraordinary the human body can be. His story reminds us that the human race is full of incredible variation. Some people run faster than anyone else. Some possess unbelievable strength. Some can perform skills that seem impossible. And Sultan Kösen stands out for a reason that is impossible to miss. He rises above the crowd. Literally. But behind the record-breaking height is a human being who has faced medical challenges, adapted to a difficult world, and continued moving forward. That may be the most important part of his story, because being extraordinary does not mean life becomes easy. Sometimes, being extraordinary means facing problems that nobody else understands. It means learning to adapt. It means finding strength in circumstances you never expected. And it means continuing forward, even when the world around you was never built for your journey. From a quiet village in Turkey to international fame, Sultan Kösen's life has become one of the most remarkable human stories ever recorded. He is known as the tallest living man. But his story is bigger than a world record. It is a story about difference, a story about resilience, a story about adapting to the impossible, and a story about how one person's greatest challenge can also become the reason the entire world remembers his name. So the next time you see Sultan Kösen standing above a crowd, remember this. You are not simply looking at a world record. You are looking at a man who has spent his entire life learning how to live in a world that was never built for someone his size. And perhaps, that is what makes his story truly extraordinary. Because Sultan Kösen does not simply stand taller than almost everyone else. He stands as a reminder that every human life can take an unexpected path. And sometimes the person who stands out the most is the person the world never forgets.